You're at a party. It's your ex-girlfriend's best friend's late birthday. Her actual birthday was booked out. You're surrounded by new people, trying your best to push past your social awkwardness and make this night more enjoyable for everyone. You strike up a conversation with another member of the house. After introducing yourselves, you ask about hobbies. I play a lot of board games, but I've been getting into Magic the Gathering lately, they say. Your ears perk up. I just learned how to play Commander, you chime in. But nothing really compares to drafting with some friends. What formats do you like? I'm a diehard Standard player, they reply, but only since I can play with Katara, my favorite character from Avatar: The Last Airbender. You pause, but keep prodding, driven equally by genuine confusion and morbid curiosity at this singularly consumerist state of mind. So you just started playing Standard recently? You venture. Well, I never got into it competitively until recently, they continue, either undaunted by or unaware of the growing worry lines on your face. I wasn't good enough for the qualifiers at my shop until Final Fantasy came out. No matter how much money I spent on cards, people always managed to find a counter strategy to the most expensive deck. Now that crossovers are legal, I've started playing a lot better. Wizards never unbans Universes Beyond cards, so my Vivi waterbending lemur deck is basically unbeatable. It's totally worth the $2,000 I spent on it. This time they do catch on to your bewilderment, as you mouth the word 1,000 with wide eyes. Oh yeah, did you see that they're releasing turbo foils that are guaranteed to stay in the format forever? After all, popular white rapper Stamp Stockton did spend millions on his collection, so investments like that really should be rewarded with perpetuity in Standard. I'm kinda glad that Lorwyn got pushed back for a third time because the cards from the new Princess Mononoke set are a huge upgrade for my list. Now, fully dissociating, you see your conversation from above. You're unable to move. A terrified expression sets in like a stone mask as the reality of your once favorite hobby sets in. You have found WotC's ideal Magic the Gathering player. It is January 2026, and you are completely frozen in the winter of Universes Beyond. Hey everyone, this is MTG Ratgirl, and I love talking about old, cheap, and janky cards that you probably shouldn't use. It should come as no surprise to anyone, then, that these Universes Beyond sets, hereto referred to as UB, are my complete antithesis. They're new, strike one. They're $300 for a box in Final Fantasy, not cheap, strike two. And they're making up 60% of the Standard meta after just one set becoming legal in the format. That is the opposite of janky. This is a topic where I am positive that I'm late to the party. I tried to focus so far on just the sets where I really enjoyed the world building or the UB cards that are not Standard legal. What's up, Titus? How's it going? However, Spider-Man season has just passed us and we're coming up quick on Avatar, and this one specifically rubs me the wrong way. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I have been a lifelong fan of my friendly neighborhood webhead. My earliest memories of TV are of the radioactive Spider-Man, which I watched on old VHS rips, as far as you know, okay? I'm not old. Get off my back about it. As a matter of fact, I like the Wallcrawler so much that I changed my name from one Spider-Man reference given to me by my parents to a different Spider-Man character given to me by my me. Feel free to play Guess the Dead Name in the comments if you really want to. I can't stop you. Anyway, this set should be designed for me, right? I am recently invested in Magic, and much more invested in collector's items related to my friendly neighborhood Blorbo from my cartoons. So why did these cards being announced make me feel nothing except dread? It's just a pit in my stomach. No fun, no desire to make my own alters of Spider-Girl or Monster Ock from the first ever PS1 game that I played. The previews for this set just made me really sad. Why is that? They got me with D&D, they got me with Lord of the Rings. I don't even play Final Fantasy games. I started playing Final Fantasy X after building the Titus Keywords deck, and well after I made the Emmett Selk video. I have proven to be a sucker for this shit. Well, luckily for all of you, I overthink my feelings a lot, and I can't afford more college tuition, so I put the energy that would be going into grad school into creating a thesis for the reason that UB now makes me sad. If you have similar nebulous, icky feelings about this, I hope that this helps you sort them out. Otherwise, I hope this helps you make better financial decisions in the coming months. Either way, Thanks for hearing me out. Let's start with the thesis. Making more standard legal Universes Beyond sets will erode both public interest and financial investment in Magic the Gathering on the long term in exchange for short-term growth. In this presentation, I will try to illustrate for you why the decision to keep saturating the release schedule with Universes Beyond sets is something that cannot, by itself, cultivate a fan base, and will eventually lead to the devaluing of your collection. Yes, you, person watching this. I don't care who you are or what you collect, your cards are about to be worth less than the paper they're printed on unless somebody eases up on the licensing deals. There are about to be twice as many pre-releases per year. These are events that I made a point of attending for every set since I started playing Commander. That's going on 4 years. Many of my friends have longer running streaks than me, but they're fun. It's a great way to get my brewer brain activated for a couple hours and then get the immediate satisfaction of testing out a deck with my neighbors. $30 a night is a decent rate for some pretty good pulls, and I'm sure that my store is pricier than the average one. I know that there are people in this hobby who are actually made of money and have a ton of free time, but I just personally can't justify an additional 3 months of pre-releases. I got shit to see and people to do, okay? I will have to choose between the 2 or 3 core story sets per year or the 3 guaranteed crossover sets that we're going to be getting from now on. I suspect that I'm not alone in this. The obvious counter-argument is just don't buy the sets you don't like, which, yeah, I intend to do, but it's not an option for people who want to play competitively. Funny story, I actually had an Orzhov bounce deck fully built in paper. It took me a few months to trade for it because I'm poor, and then Final Fantasy released, and Vivi immediately blew me out of the water at my local game store. I had only gone to 1 draft night of Final Fantasy, so if you want to stand a chance at your regional qualifiers, you can't always afford to miss a set. Everything that is legal must be somewhere in your repertoire, and now there are nearly twice as many moving pieces to keep track of. This practice is pricing good competitive Magic players out of qualifiers and out of tournaments. Do you remember when Kibler had a reputation for being a smug dickhead and buying his way into the scene with his daddy's credit card? I sure do. Maybe people wouldn't intentionally call him Kyle Hill to bother him to his face if he, made friends instead of buying them. Anyway, WotC's decisions are going to bar anyone without this kind of funding out of competitive Magic. It's going to ramp up until Brian Kiblers and Seto Kaibas are the only people who have a chance at competing. Speaking of recognizable names in this card game, statement: Magic the Gathering has its own story with an invested fan base. My friend gave me this tattoo about 6 months ago. It's pretty cool, right? I like it a lot. For anyone who hasn't been playing since Ravnica, that is the signet of the Golgari Guild. They're green and black in the game, which is my favorite color combo to play, and they represent the janitors and overlooked caretakers of the huge, sprawling, plane-wide city. Most importantly, if you're a Magic fan, and you look at this, you immediately have all of that information beamed into your frontal cortex, because it is a good and recognizable design, much like the other Ravnica guilds. It frustrates me that Magic doesn't seem to want this immediate recognition that they already have such easy access to. I could spend years of my life reading about the drama and skirmishes that happen in a city that is the size of an entire planet. It's very compelling. And the last time we were there, we were, following 2 people around and everyone was dressed like an 1890s detective for some reason? It was weird. It was a big fashion change. I wanted to see more of Ravnica. God damn it. I don't care about suspecting. I understand that the concept behind Planeswalkers allows them to jump with the reader between storylines and all of these fantastic settings. I love comic books, so I was easily drawn in as a child by the comic book style setting switches that this practice allows, and the similarly colorful and iconic character design. So why did it take them so long to make a comic? And it's kind of like a meta comic, actually. Even though it's not about all of the Planeswalkers and how cool they are, I would have devoured this as a teenager, dude. Are you kidding me? I would have been so annoying to talk to. I wouldn't talk about anything else in middle school. After I got the Future Sight novel as a birthday gift, I bothered my tiny town's game store until they let me read every single one of them that they had on their shelf. I basically lived there after classes in high school. My point is that Magic the Gathering has its own story, but it seems to hold a certain level of disdain for it, I guess. It's really baffling. It's like everybody loves the novels and short stories, except for the people employing the writing staff and making those financial decisions. We're invested in these characters and constantly grasping for new story details, character vignettes, or plot lines with any substance. Magic fans keep proving that they want more writing, and they're even willing to do it themselves. Wizards has an entire audience of people writing stories for them, but I'm sure that the C-suite is too cowardly to venture into the fanfiction caves where all of the good stuff lives. I continue to be amazed at how Wizards can't quite get their head around the fact that the original media they already have ownership of is the best way to bring in new players. It's exactly the thing that hooked me when I was about 12 or 13. Statement. Universes Beyond had financial success as Secret Lair and in legacy-only formats for a short time, after which sales steeply dropped. Magic's lead designer Mark Rosewater has said that WotC's hope for these crossover sets is to onboard new players, who will hopefully stick around for the main Magic sets. Who can say which one is the main attraction at this point? But here's the thing. If a large company like Square Enix or Marvel thinks that their property is good enough to sell a physical card game, then they'll just hire their own designers for the card game. Oh, hey. It's Marvel Snap. I love that game. Spider-Man's in there too, right? Practically, the position that Wizards is putting themselves in is as a cheap and accurate product tester for more specialized TCGs, already a niche market. They are no longer in the business of serving you as the player base. By having an entrenched audience with a high tolerance for random bullshit, they instead create a platform where owners of other intellectual properties can test the waters for rolling out their own board games, their own TCGs, for a period of about 6 weeks before the next candidate comes around for their turn at the Magic the Gathering card factory. Eventually, though, every IP owner with the means to do so will have had their chance on this little roller coaster ride. What happens then? Does the card game go the way of Hot Topic with their marketing team scraping the most frequently searched terms of the financial quarter, desperate to find the next media team who's willing to use them as an interactive billboard? That's probably not even feasible for something with as many moving parts as Magic has. It's more likely that Wizards will get used up and forgotten once they've served their purpose to everyone with the money to use them. Corporations like Disney don't just want to be a part of Magic the Gathering because they think it's cool. They want their very own physical product where they can have complete control over the design and the marketing. While it is sad that Bob Iger doesn't think that Magic is cooler than Lorcana, what this means for you as an MTG player is that Universes Beyond sets will sell like hotcakes for close to a month and then completely flatten out. They're becoming a predictable financial device, which only ever decreases in value over the long term. How long do you think it will be until Vivi gets power crept out? How long do you think the cards that replace it will be worth $70 as well? Do you think they can keep getting more and more expensive as their in-game power increases? Why is this reminding me of some other kind of predictable and ultimately useless financial device?
I don't want to talk about it.
The answer to my previous questions is no, of course. The best card in any given set will hover around the same $60 to $70, adjusted for inflation, and only ever sink as it is rendered unplayable in the next set when someone else wants their licensed product to be the coolest and most specialist guy around. The customer is always right, after all, and you and I are no longer the customer that WotC has their priorities set on. Statement. Licensing deals take agency away from game designers and the bans committee, whose decisions guide every competitive format. I want to start this segment out by saying that the design and art teams at WotC do incredible work. The reason I'm making these videos right now is because I didn't get into the positions that I applied for as a print production artist working for them a few years ago. I obviously respect their work immensely because I spend so long talking to myself about it. I really hope nobody takes this as a dig against these teams when I say that I can tell that licensing throws a wrench in their design process. Like any good artist with a restriction or creative obstacle, the things that they do with these tie-ins are often clever and unexpectedly charming, even to a dour, gloomy IP hater like myself. But I studied art. I'm cursed with 6-ish years worth of arcane knowledge of semiotics, so I can see when there is a pressure to make one specific character a little bit more of a standout than they might be in a typical Magic set. Whether it's the iconic portraiture and vignetted lighting of Peter Parker, or Cloud, Midgar Mercenaries' true to the source art style and recognizable backdrop, these artists are great at highlighting a card as a main character. In original Magic settings, this effect sparks a curiosity. It invites you to explore the setting more by teasing you with just one window into an entire plane, where physics play by different rules, and bright heroic characters rise to meet the unique challenges of their unpredictable lives. In crossover sets, it sometimes has more of this effect. Ha! Reference! Get it? However, artists can't make these nods all by themselves. The mechanics for all of these examples have also been expertly woven into the characters that they are trying to evoke. It's a big part of how these little things tell a story within their limited environments. With the mechanics of the game as part of your arsenal, there's one other way you can make sure that the main character of currently licensed company will be the focus of hundreds of thousands of Magic the Gathering fans. You can break that fucker in half backwards and sideways. If a card is in high demand, it is sure to have lots of sets of eyes on it from collectors, sellers, and competitive players, in addition to people who are just fans of the cartoon from the most recent licensing deal. All of this attention is supposedly exactly what these various media companies are paying Wizards of the Coast for. They want attention, advertising, scandal. Any press is good press when you're this desperate for a renewed cultural relevance. When was the last time Avatar was on TV? I remember watching the finale to that show. It was really good. Synthesis. Injecting more universes beyond sets into competitive Magic will transform the respective formats into a competition of budgets rather than strategy, reducing interest in competitive broadcasts while alienating fans who have been invested for more than 4 years. This will lead to the financial decline of Wizards of the Coast and ultimately devalue the collections of every invested player. So, what's the alternative? What can we do to prevent all of this doomsaying I've been spouting from becoming a reality? Shortly, keep hiring your writing staff. Hire more writers. God, believe in yourself, for God's sake. Please stop trying to piggyback off of whatever you think the latest hottest trend is. Ideally, you could hire somebody, anybody, with enough spine to tell investors at Hasbro, no, you can't have increasing profits every year. That isn't how the world works. Suck it up and quit complaining that you can't have dessert for every meal. Because if the investors in that boardroom are making enough money to feed themselves and their kids, then what you have is enough. It's fucking enough. It's more than what most of the world has. And you can be goddamn sure it's more than I've ever had. Okay. I did not script the rest of this. And I almost started crying my makeup off. Magic the Gathering is already good at making nostalgia sets for its invested players. Everything from All Will Be One to Wilds of Eldraine, Murders of Karlov Manor, and newly next year, Lorwyn Eclipsed, are all nostalgia sets and revisits of old, beloved characters from this franchise. Getting nostalgia from sources within the rest of the Hasbro Corporation seems extraneous. I guess in my own way, I want the Lorwyn set for nostalgia, but it's like, it's not nostalgia for something different than Magic. I liked original Lorwyn. I want to go back there. I know it's going to be different. I know it's not going to be as good. It's the thing that I liked as a kid. That's enough. I don't also need to relive my days of collecting everything related to Spider-Man that my parents would let me get my hands on. I don't need to relive the few years that I spent as a high schooler getting really attached to the Avatar characters. I had that, and it was good. It's not going to be as good the second time, you know? I've already done it. The series is still there. You can go watch that if you're missing it. You don't need pieces of cardboard with Avatar and Momo on them and stuff. It's not going to make you feel the same. We had people really excited for returning to Ravnica again after the return to Ravnica, and they kind of fumbled that a little bit. It was a good vehicle for the new mechanics, but it wasn't Ravnica again, you know? I miss being able to tell the story that you were telling from looking at the plot highlight cards. When I was a kid, I collected Magic cards for the flavor text and the art as much as their playability in the games with my friends. Some of my favorite Magic cards still are my favorite because they have really good and flavorful and insightful flavor text. I don't know if the people making story decisions fully realize this, that like that little throwaway line at the bottom of your card, there are people who fucking love that. There are people who will buy your cards because of that, you know? I haven't made any plans to go to a Spider-Man pre-release or any draft nights at my local game stores, and I will probably not be buying any new Magic cards for the rest of the year because I'm still excited about Edge of Eternities. I don't need to buy new Edge of Eternities cards, but I really wish that I could read a whole novel about them, you know? We used to publish novels in this game. This used to be a real malicious three-pronged advertising strategy. God damn it, like we had in the 90s. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm not really mad at Magic the Gathering. I'm certainly not mad at the designers. I think maybe the things that I'm angry at are extractive business practices and consumerism. The positive part about having a game that's been going on for 30 years is there's always new and forgotten stuff to uncover. We can work with what we have until they start coming out with original ideas again. We get this idea in our heads that the people making the product and the people writing about the product from the official channels are the ones who get to decide what the game looks like. But if nobody buys Spider-Man or Avatar, guess what? They're not going to do as many crossover sets. If they realize that this vulture-like business practice of conglomerating everything into Hasbro, like the Attack of the Ooze, isn't working, they will try something else. They seem like an unstoppable force, but they're really not. They're here to serve you, remember? I see people very easily getting caught up in the hype, and it makes me really fucking sad. If you're genuinely excited for a Spider-Man card, that's fine. If you genuinely have always had some desire to play Sokka in Magic the Gathering, that's not me, but I don't have anything morally opposed to you. But I don't think that's most people. I really don't. Be mindful about how you use your money. Be mindful about how you talk about these games online, because the people who already have money are a unified front with a goal in mind. And if we, at the other side of the table as consumers, are also a unified front with specific goals in mind, we can make them do whatever we want. You know, there's more of us. They depend on us. You don't depend on them. So what's the point of this synthesis and this paper that I have brought to you? It's not defending my own thesis for no reason. The thesis is stop buying stuff. Go make something. Get hobbies that require you to be creative, okay? And for these reasons, MTG Rat Girl no longer stands for Magic the Gathering. It stands for Models Transgender Grimdark, where I'm going to be taking you through building and painting an entire Chaos Space Marines army. That's right, I've got these possessed here that the camera is not going to focus on. I've got these possessed Space Marines that I'm going to be taking you through building and painting. I've already got most of them constructed, as well as a 1,000 Suns army. You can see my Aspirant Sorcerer here, looking pretty cool, and I've got an entire set of bases and stuff that I still haven't constructed, and I'm going to do that all with you here on my channel. Fuck you, Magic the Gathering. It's time for minis. It's time for me to play with a different kind of toy. Genuinely thank you for sitting through this one. I know it wasn't my usual fun, quirky deck tech type of video, but I really needed to get it off my chest. It was kind of eating away at me, and I just needed to share it before I can get back to the fun stuff that I like doing, which is making unexpected, really stupid combos and themes for multiplayer games. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the video and keeping me doing this for as long as I have. And if you'd like to be on that list, or if you'd like to see a video about a new multiplayer format in Magic called Clover, you can check out the link to become a squeaker as well. I really do believe in being creative in my hobbies and things, which is why I have a shop of stickers, tokens, and other custom game pieces that you can also check out down in the description. It's mtgratgirl.etsy.com. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. I hope you have a wonderful winter. I don't think that this is going to ruin it for me. I still like Magic. I'm just going to be spending more time digging back into the old and the janky and the stuff that I really like doing, which is digging through the trash. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. After all, popular white ramper stamp. Pet, pet, pet.